Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Welcome back to my channel, My Loverlies. If you've never been here before, thank you so much for clicking on my video. I am so happy you found me. I do so hope that you will like and subscribe before you leave. Become part of the Mama family. Mama's got your back, at least where makeup's concerned, and definitely when that makeup is cheap. Today is all about cosmic brushes. Are they really worth the hype? We're going to find out. Before we get started, guys, a very special, very warm welcome to any of those that are new to my channel. I am so incredibly happy that you are here. If you enjoy the content, I do so hope that you will mash that thumbs up button. I hope that you will subscribe if you have not already. And I hope that you will ring my bell, turn on your notifications, so that way, next time I upload a video, you can come right back here and we can hang out together again. Also, my makeup is done. I did use one of the palettes we're going to talk about here in just a minute on my eyes, but I did make sure to film a TikTok on today's eye look if you are interested. I'll have the tags for my TikTok as well as all of my other socials, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff in the description box below, along with everything that I'm going to talk about in today's video. If you are not following me on all my other socials, you definitely should go do that. I post fun content literally every single day, and if you're following me everywhere, you don't have to worry about missing a single moment of it. Alright, my Loverlies, let's go ahead and dive into the new goodness. So, cosmic brushes. Who are they? What are they? What do they do? So, cosmic brushes is a completely viral brand right now. It seems like every launch they release, it just absolutely explodes. They've been all over my For You page, specifically on Instagram, but I see a lot of them on TikTok as well. They're absolutely everywhere. And they're mostly known for their eyeshadow palettes. And the reason they're as well known as they are is because, first of all, they're independently owned. Second of all, they're actually really affordable. And third of all, they include multichromes in their palettes. And multichromes are so trendy right now. Everybody wants to play with them. If you have been here for any amount of time, you will know that I am so intrigued. I absolutely love duochromes and multichromes. I think they're so much fun. It's like it's a way to get multiple different colors on your eye at one time. It's fantastic. So I have been a little bit hesitant to order from the brand just because they're based out of the UK, and I'm hesitant to order outside of the country just because my postmen are not very nice with packages. I always worry it's gonna end up arriving absolutely shattered and I'm going to be really sad and I might not be able to replace it. So I've just been on the fence about it. On top of that, I am an absolute Scrooge when it comes to paying for shipping. I really do not like paying for shipping, and cosmic brushes, because they're such a small independently owned brand, I don't believe they have a minimum for free shipping. So I ended up having to bite that bullet and pay for the shipping. I think I paid almost $20 for shipping for this order. Now, I did buy 3 palettes. I bought their 3 newest launches. The one that they just released is the Winter Wonderland palette. The release they did before that was the Gothic palette. And then the one that I'm wearing on my eyes today was the release they did before that. And this is the Muse palette. I want to start off with the Muse palette today just because that's what I have on my face at the moment, and then we'll move on. We'll go in succession from oldest release to newest. So this is the Muse palette. First of all, I want to start off by talking about the packaging. Packaging is very, very pretty. Now, I don't know exactly what I was expecting, but this is really nice cardboard packaging. It's not super heavy. It doesn't feel like weighted or luxurious in any way, but it is very, very decent, like, you know, pretty regular, pretty standard cardboard packaging. I think what makes it stand out just a little bit is the fact that the edges are rounded. It just looks a little bit different. I also really like the way the palettes feel in my hand. They have a nice light weight to them, which is going to make them easy to hold and easy to use. Each of the palettes includes a nice, good quality, full-size mirror, which we absolutely love. And I just love the way that the edges are rounded. Again, when packaging stands out, I remember it because, again, I don't have anything in my collection that looks quite like this. So when it stands out, I remember it, and when I remember it, I use it more often. So I feel like this will probably get quite a bit of love from me. But it is a 20 shade eyeshadow palette. There are, let's see. There are 20 shades in here. 12 of them are mattes. 4 of them are metallics. You have 1 iridescent metallic, and then you have 1 duochrome. 3, I'm sorry. You have 3 duochromes. Guys, I used this palette today. It's really, really nice. Again, it is so overhyped right now. I wasn't exactly sure how to feel. Again, I didn't want my expectations to completely overshadow what the palette could actually do. It's been so overhyped online that you expect it to get here and absolutely blow your mind. You expect it to be earth-shattering and life-changing, and I really hate to do that to an eyeshadow palette or any makeup product in general, because you're kind of just setting it up to fail. I mean, at the end of the day, it is just eyeshadow. However, I mean, this met my expectations for the most part. I do have a couple of comments, just in general about the formulas. Overall, though, it's a really nice palette. I really love the color story. It reminds me of like a really beautiful rose garden in the middle of like in the middle of like maybe late summer, where everything's just kind of starting to fade a little bit, but the colors are getting muted. And like, oh, it's so beautiful. It's grungy, but also glamorous and romantic. It is stunning. I love this color story. Now, I did use quite a few of the shades in here today just to really get a good feel for the palette. And I think the mattes are really, really nice. I wouldn't say they're the most pigmented mattes I've ever worked with, but they build beautifully. They blend effortlessly, which is all you can ask for a good matte formula. Now, I did use this color and this color in my crease today, and I will say, unfortunately, they're not super true to pan. Like, so I put these on, and they darkened considerably on my skin, but then they also kind of faded quite a bit, and I wasn't super happy about that. Of course, I probably could have built them up even more. Again, it's just something I'm going to have to play with. I've only used this palette just a couple of times, but they swatch beautifully. That color, absolutely stunning. And then you have this really gorgeous, like, grungy, mustardy green tone. I think both of these colors are very, very pretty. Again, I feel like they change just a little bit when you get them on your skin. They don't necessarily look the same way that they do in the pan. However, that's not a bad thing, just something to note. They do feel very, very silky smooth and soft. They blend it out, like I said, absolutely effortlessly. So I really don't have anything bad to say about the mattes. Now, when it comes to the shimmers, that's where this brand shines. They really, really pride themselves on their super saturated metallics and multichromes. Now, my measure of a really fantastic metallic shade or shimmer shade or multichrome, anything like that, is application. I really want to be able to pick it up with my brush and transfer it to the eye and get the same impact on my eye that I do in the pan. That didn't happen with this. And if you go on the website and you look at the descriptions of the palette, they make a notation at the bottom that says, for best results, use a finger. I really dislike that. I dislike having to use my finger. I am not a finger applicator kind of girl. 9 times out of 10, I've got big long talons on my fingers, and I really don't like to put them anywhere near my eyeshadow. Then you risk gouging. Also, when you're applying anything with a finger, you're losing any chance at precision. I am 9 times out of 10 doing a cut crease, something that calls for just a little bit more detail work. It's a little bit more detail oriented, and I just can't get those tiny details with my finger. So I really, really have to use a brush. Now, I used this shade all over my lid today. This is the shade Inspire. It is an absolutely gorgeous green, silky metallic. The metallics, they feel like that putty texture. There is a really high moisture content here, which I'm assuming is why they don't transfer and why they don't pick up with a brush very well, because the moisture content is so high, the brush just can't pick it up. It just doesn't cling to the brush at all. Now, I was able to get just a little bit of payoff. This eye I applied with a fingertip, and this eye I applied with a brush. You can tell I still got the color there, and it's still transferred with the brush, but you're not getting the real like pow. You're not. This one I applied with my fingertip, and it definitely looks more shiny. You get more of that sheen, you get more of that metallic pop with a finger. So there is a little bit of a difference. I do feel like that as this palette ages, it's going to get better for brush users, because as the shades dry out just a little bit, they're going to become a little bit easier to pick up, which is a good thing. Lets me know that these are going to age pretty well. Now, like I said, this palette has 1 iridescent and 3 duochromes. So there's 4 straight up metallics. So this one is a straight up metallic. This other green one is a straight up metallic, and it is absolutely everything. It is like this really gorgeous deep kind of forest green. They swatch absolutely lovely. The swatches are so satisfying. They're so pretty. The other straight up, what are the other straight up metallics? So we have the shade Admire, which is a straight up metallic. I will say this is the shade, this is the most disappointing metallic in the entire palette. Coincidentally, this is the one that picks up best with a brush. But this one it definitely has a different texture from the other ones. This one is definitely drier. It's got a little bit more of a crumbly texture to it. It does end up looking very pretty on the eye. It transfers pretty well with a brush, but it doesn't have as much of that like super like saturated sheen to it. It's just a little bit different. This one takes just a couple of layers to really get it there, but after like 2 layers, and it just looks so pretty. It's not as wet looking and sheeny as the other ones are, but it does still have a really beautiful reflectivity to it. There's also little teeny tiny micro glitters in this one as well, so it still has that movement on the eye. Still very pretty. And then where is our last straight up metallic? I'm thinking Whisper. Whisper is our last straight up metallic, and this one is just a really pretty soft kind of lavender. So that's what that one looks like. So there are all 4 of the straight up metallics. Super pretty. Now for the iridescent shade, this is the shade Luster. So this one right here, it is stunning. So Luster is described, this one right here, this is the iridescent metallic. It is described as a white metallic that shifts magenta and soft pink. It is ridiculously pretty. It too has a little bit of that kind of putty-like texture, but not quite as moisture rich as the straight up metallics. This one actually picks up really well with a brush. It applies super easily to the eye, and it just looks like fairy winged goodness. Absolutely beautiful. This is definitely going to be your topper shade. This is going to be that shade that you put on top of any other shade in the palette to really make it sparkle and shimmer and just like really make it pop. Let's take a little bit of that shade and put it over, let's put it over this green one and see. Oh yeah. It just takes a regular matte shade and just makes it that much better. Really beautiful. As for the duochromes in this palette, we have the shade Ambient, which is this shade right here. And this one is described as a blue-brown. So kind of like MAC blue-brown. This one kind of looks like an oil slick to me, just a little bit. This one is probably one of the grungiest shades in the entire palette. Very pretty. Nice and deep and rich. It too has that high kind of moisture content to it, so it goes on and it looks almost wet on the eye. Very pretty. My very favorite shade in this entire palette is this one right here. This is the shade Muse, so this one that the palette is named for, and this one is just a straight up pink to gold shift, but it is so incredibly beautiful. It's almost got like this really beautiful soft baby pink to like fiery peachy gold kind of goodness. It is so incredibly stunning. It is my favorite shade in the entire palette. It is just so pretty. You could use this, just do a wash of it all over the eye and be good to go. Absolutely stunning. And then last but not least, we have the shade Antique, which is this one right here. And this one is described as a cyan green to pinky purple. And this one is another really, really interesting shade. It's still got that kind of like oil slick quality to it, but it almost, can you guys see that shift? There's that like pinky purple kind of shade to like that kind of browny green color. Super, super pretty. All in all, I think the metallics and duochromes in here are really beautiful. I think that if you really dislike applying any kind of shade with your finger, this brand probably isn't going to be for you. But if you don't mind giving it a little bit of extra TLC, I really do think that these are stunning. Even though I applied it with a brush and I kind of had to dab a little bit on with my finger, I am very, very happy with the eye look that I came out with. I didn't have, other than having to use my finger, I had no problems with this palette at all. I think the mattes are fantastic. I think the shimmers are super, super, the metallics are very, very high impact. All in all, especially for the fact that this palette is only $24. $24 for a 20 shade eyeshadow palette, I think is such an insane value, especially taking into account that you've got all kinds of duochromes in here. You've got an iridescent in here. I just think the value is good. It is fun. It's inspiring. It's artistic. It's a really, really nice palette. Do I absolutely adore it? Do I think it's the best palette I've ever played with? No, I do not. But I think it is really, really nice. I think the value is spot on. The price is right. And I just think it is a super fun palette. So if you've been like looking at it and if you've been wanting to kind of play with it, I think I'm going to go ahead and give it my stamp of approval. I think that you would very, very much enjoy this palette and I would repurchase it. Next up, we have the Gothic palette. Y'all, this is so freaking cute. This is a teeny tiny little 12 pan eyeshadow palette. This one says it was inspired by like old school Gothic glam horror, that kind of thing, like dark but sexy at the same time. I think the packaging is stunning. Again, that same shape. It's got the nice rounded edges on it. I love the detail on the front. I love that it's just like a monotone black with kind of like, it's matte but shiny at the same time. It's etched so you can kind of feel the lettering on there as well. Very, very nice. The cardboard is nice. It's not super luxurious or super fancy in any way, but it still manages to make you feel like you're using something just a little bit special. So we love that. This, like I said, is a 12 pan eyeshadow palette. This is expensive though. This goes for $29. And I'm thinking that the only reason this is as expensive as it is because this one includes a multi-chrome. So the Muse palette, there were no multi-chromes. There were just a couple of duochromes in there. Multi-chromes, however, are incredibly expensive. They're very, very difficult to formulate. They're expensive to formulate. So I'm assuming that's what's driving the price of this palette up. So this palette includes 12 shades. You have 4 metallics, 7 mattes, and 1 metallic multichrome. So again, this palette is just, look at this color story. Look at this color story. This is a purple lover's dream. Absolutely freaking phenomenal. So you have those same like super high shine, wet looking metallics. We're of course going to start with the mattes and then we'll work our way through the metallics and the multichrome. But the mattes in here are stunning. I think the mattes in here are even better than the ones in the Muse palette. I think overall the quality of this palette is even better than the Muse palette. So again, the Muse was one of their like first releases, and this one is one of their newest ones. I think this one released only just a couple of months ago. So they might have reformulated, but still, look at that color. That is really beautiful. Pastel purpley pink. That is the shade Immortal. Then let's go into something just a little bit deeper and a little bit richer. Let's go into the shade Serpent. Oh yeah. And purples are notoriously difficult to formulate. I feel like if a brand can really get a purple matte down, they can do just about anything. Let's go into this super rich, deep kind of plum purple. This is the shade Altar. Oh yeah. They feel so nice. They feel so like velvety smooth and soft. super, super pretty. That is a very, very pretty purple swatch. Oftentimes purples, even when you swatch them, they're patchy and they feel dry, and oftentimes they feel just a little bit chalky, and these just feel smooth as the day is long. Very, very nice. So what does it say? It says 4 metallics and 1 metallic multichrome. Let's go into the multichrome first. Let's go into the shade Chosen. Where is it? Chosen. Oh, it's right there. Y'all, this one right here. Let's see if I can show you the switch in the pan. So this one, it is described as a plum antique gold green. So I can definitely see the purple in there, but it's like purple on my monitor, but when I see it, it looks like straight up green gold. Absolutely. Oh yeah, that feels nice. You can instantly tell the difference. The multichromes definitely feel different than the metallics. They still have that high moisture content, almost that cream-like texture, but y'all, can you see how freaking gorgeous that is? I cannot wait. I cannot wait to play with this. I am so, so excited. I haven't had a chance to use the multichrome yet. I have been swatching it every single chance I can get, though. It is absolutely stunning. I love that color. This is going to be so beautiful all over the lid. When it comes to multichromes, you really just don't want to overcomplicate it, right? You really want them to have their chance to shine. You don't want to steal the show with a bunch of mattes and other metallics. So I would just use this all over the lid with something like a little bit deeper in the crease and just let this like do all the work, do all the talking. It is absolutely freaking stunning. It feels like, oh my goodness, like, and it could swatch for days. It is so richly pigmented. I am so excited about that. As for just the straight up metallics, we have the shade Pale Moon, which is a really pretty soft. This almost looks like a duochrome. It's not, but it almost looks like it. It's got kind of like this pinky golden kind of tone to it, almost a little bit lavender. Very, very pretty. We have the shade Serpent, and this one looks like it is an iridescent. That is freaking stunning. That is absolutely just, I can't get over it. I can't get over how pretty. That is so, so pretty. We have the shade Serpent. Then we have the shade, what is this? Nocturnal. So this one right here. That looks really, really pretty as well. Really gorgeous, kind of like deep plum with a little bit of a gold reflect in there. And then last but not least, we have the shade Powerful, which is just a really pretty, very sparkly kind of purple. Yeah. Almost has like a blue undertone to it. Very, very pretty. All in all, I think this palette is freaking stellar. I can't find a single thing wrong with this palette. Even the metallics feel a little bit better. The moisture content isn't as high, so I have noticed that the metallics pick up better with a brush in this palette in particular. They're just, the moisture, like I said, the moisture content isn't quite so high, so it does pick up a little bit better with a brush. When you're working with products like this that have that high moisture content, I do recommend a very dense, very flat brush. You definitely don't want to go into these metallics with anything fluffy. You're just going to lose all the pigment before you can get it to your eye. I like to take something super flat and stiff and really just kind of like glide it across the eyeshadow. And you can see how well that actually picked up on the brush, and then just apply it to your skin like that. I definitely think using a glitter glue is going to do nothing but benefit you with formulas like this as well. It's going to help them to set down and stay put. When you have metallics that have such a high moisture content, you do run the risk of it creasing on you, especially if you have hooded eyes like I do. So I always make sure to use a glitter glue and really go in with thin layers until I get the opacity that I want. But yeah, that's really pretty. It actually picked up really, really nicely with a brush. So I'm very, very excited about that. Yeah. All in all, I think this palette is a 10 out of 10. I think it's freaking fantastic. I think at 12 shades, it's just big enough to really inspire you and spark your creativity, but still without being redundant. Like, there's no redundancy in this palette at all, especially since it's a monochromatic palette. Everything is done really, really well. You've got a great, everything is pretty mid-toned, but because you have these super light kind of shimmer shades, it makes it very, very workable. There's a great amount of depth in here as well. This shade is a matte, but it is a sequined matte, so there's teeny tiny little glitter reflex in there. This is the shade Gothic, and it is a black, but it has pink. Yeah, it has the like little pink micro glitters in there. Can you see the little sparkles? Super, super pretty. And that black feels really nice, super deep and inky. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That is super, super nice. Yeah. All in all, I think this is stellar. Absolute 10 out of 10. Home run. Hit it out of the park. Yeah. $29 again is very pricey for a 12 pan eyeshadow palette, but let's not forget that we've got that multi-chrome in here. So yeah, this is freaking spectacular. Love it. Last but not least, we have the Winter Wonderland eyeshadow palette. This is the newest release from Cosmic Brushes. It's their winter release for 2023. Y'all, I am so freaking excited about this eyeshadow palette. Oh, so I have just kind of like, I couldn't help myself. My fingers have been all up in this eyeshadow palette, and it is every bit as lust and dream worthy as we think it will be. It is so, so beautiful. So same packaging, same curved edges, same full-size mirror, but y'all, this color story is just it's so pretty. It is so pretty. So this palette goes for $37. It is pricey. This is a pricey eyeshadow palette. It is a 20 pan palette, $37, but we got to remember that this is an independently owned brand, and not only that, but there are 2 multi-chromes in this eyeshadow palette. Y'all, it's stunning. It is spectacular. The quality on this one is the same as the Gothic. Creamy, dreamy, super smooth, really beautiful mattes. I love, and of course this is a monochromatic eyeshadow palette, and it is blue. It's kind of like blue/purple. It could have been very easy for this to become a little bit redundant, but they've been so smart with how they've put it together. You get a great amount of depth in here. You have shades that are super light, goes really, really deep. I know these 2 shades are coming across both really black on my monitor, but one is black and then the other is a really deep navy. I don't think there is any repetition. I don't think there's any redundance in this eyeshadow palette at all. I think it is incredibly well done. We're of course going to get our fingers in there. We're going to do some swatches, but this is a 20 shade eyeshadow palette inspired by the magical Winter Wonderland. It says there are 12 silky mattes in here, 5 dazzling metallics, and 2 multi-chromes. We're of course going to start with the mattes, and then we'll go on to the multi-chromes. The mattes are the same formula as in the Gothic palette. Creamy, dreamy, super smooth. I love the tones that they chose for this palette as well. I think they're so, so beautiful. That is the shade Calm. Let's go into the shade Showers. This really gorgeous kind of like deep teal. Super, super pretty. And then of course we've got to go into this super gorgeous kind of like electric sky blue down here. Absolutely stunning. And another thing that I really enjoy about these palettes is a lot of them are very pastel heavy. So even though a lot of the shades go really, really deep, I've noticed that most of the lighter / mid-tones have that creamy white base to them. That is going to mean that they're incredibly easy to blend. Usually white-based eyeshadows are incredibly easy to work with, especially if you get them like super creamy and pigmented like this. They're going to go on the eye and they're going to blend out like absolutely like zero effort. It's just going to be an absolute dream to work with. But I want to really dig into the 2 multi-chromes in here. So the 2 multi-chromes in here, the first shade is Atmosphere, so this one right here, and then we have the shade Winter Solstice. We're gonna do some swatches because y'all, these multichromes are just genuinely freaking stunning. So Atmosphere is described as a turquoise green, purple, deep magenta, orangey peach. Now all you're seeing on the monitor right now is the turquoise green, kind of like that blue, those blue tones, but when I look at it in real life, all I see is that fiery peach, pink magenta. I think it is so weird how multichromes, how they photograph and how they film, because the human eye can pick up that switch in the light. Unfortunately, the camera just isn't there yet, so I'm very sad about the fact that I'm not going to be able to show you this in all of its glory. But when I tell you, it is genuinely one of the most beautiful eyeshadows I have ever seen. It is truly spectacular. Really, really gorgeous. So again, the texture of this is very, very thin. It doesn't seem to have like a super high moisture content, so it's not like super putty like, but it definitely is more of that almost like slick, oily feeling kind of thing. It's a very, very thin eyeshadow, but that means it's just going to be so easy to work with. Now these do pick up with a brush pretty decently, so you're not going to need to use your finger with them if you don't absolutely have to, but they're just, and they swatch for absolutely days. I don't know how much more I can rave about these without just sounding completely repetitive, but they're out of this world. Really, really stellar. So that was the shade Atmosphere, and then we have the shade Winter Solstice, and this one is described as a pale blue, aquamarine, golden green, warm peach, salmon pink. So lots and lots and lots of colors in there. It is a very, very shifty shade. So I definitely think the shift is stronger on Atmosphere, but I do think that shade Winter Solstice is definitely more, it just kind of like fits in a lot better with this color story. Just, y'all, and because the shift on this one is very, very different, the colors, it's not quite as deep and rich as that first multichrome. It's not going to show up on my camera like hardly at all. It looks very, very lackluster here, but in real life it is just, it's genuinely stunning. It is so pretty. You can get just a little, oh, there's the shift, so you can see that blue to kind of like peachy pink, kind of orangey salmon kind of color. Really, really pretty. I think the shift on this one is stunning. It's like visually arresting. Very, very interesting. I think this first one is a little bit more common. That shift is a little bit more common, the color combination. This one is definitely different though. This is going to be one of those colors that you put all over the lid and it's going to steal the show. Like, when I'm using multichromes, I really don't want to do too much. Like, I really want them to just like be the center of attention. So I might put something just a little bit deeper in my crease and then put a multichrome all over the lid and just let that do all of the talking. But y'all, so pretty. I cannot get over it. And then you have the straight up metallics. There are, how many are in here? You have 12 silky mattes and 5 dazzling metallics. So let's just do some finger swatches of the metallics. We have the shade Comfort. We have the shade Reflection. We have the shade Frost. We have the shade Chill. And we have the shade Wonderland. Y'all, just like, I mean, so this one looks like to be, it's one of those really gorgeous kind of like white metallic kind of almost iridescent shades. Might be a little bit of a topper shade. This one, it looks to be like a white to gold kind of shifty one. It's not billed as a duochrome, but I think there are some like slight gold reflex in there that are definitely making an appearance. And then we have the other metallics, and they're all just, again, stupidly freaking pretty. So all in all, there are all of the metallic and multichrome shades in the palette, y'all. I think out of all 3 of these palettes, the Winter Wonderland is definitely my favorite. Gothic being a very close second. And then, of course, Muse. I think Muse is really beautiful. I just don't think the quality is necessarily as great as in the Gothic and the Winter Wonderland. There's something really truly special about this eyeshadow palette, and I cannot wait. I cannot wait. I feel like I'm going to get so much joy from this palette, just time after time after time. And as much, I just can't wait. I can't wait. We have tutorials coming very, very shortly. Guys, I hope today's video was helpful to you in some small way, especially with Christmas coming up here shortly. Y'all, these palettes are still on sale as I'm filming this video. You can use the code FESTIVE and get 20% off of your order. I don't believe it works for Winter Wonderland, but I think it works for Gothic and Muse, and they also have 2 other palettes. I think they have Serenity, and then I think there's like a bright pastel one. Those are both really, really beautiful as well. Definitely, if you're like interested and just want to kind of play with some colorful eyeshadows that are just fun and new, I think these are fantastic. They also do highlighters. They have a bunch of brushes. Unfortunately, a lot of the stuff on the site is sold out. They do loose pigments that I really, really want to play with. Everything of all of their loose pigments are sold out at the moment, or I would have picked a few of those up as well. I don't know when they're going to do their next restock. Unfortunately, Winter Wonderland and Muse are both sold out at the moment, but Gothic is still available. So if you want to go check it out, I definitely recommend it. Sign up for the newsletter. They'll let you know when they've got a restock coming. Probably going to be a little bit though. Like I said, guys, as always, no filters, no fancy lighting. It is just me sitting in front of my camera, playing with some absolutely stunning makeup, hoping you guys are enjoying what I am doing. Guys, if you enjoy the content, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure you give this video a big old thumbs up before you leave. And until next time, stay safe, take care of yourselves, and remember, you're important. Bye.